The Holy Bible. Many of us believe everyone on this continent has had access to the good news, but that is just not true. Many in Mexico, in the villages and rural areas, have never read a Bible or even heard a preacher. That was how it was for Ignacio Rios.
It was something never expected because I don't even know the Bible exists in years until I met my wife and then my father-in-law. He was an elder of the Church of Christ in Dallas. He taught me.
That teaching changed his life forever. Ignacio, affectionately known as Nacho by friends and family, was attending Garden Ridge Church of Christ in Lewisville, Texas, when he got the idea to help a small group of Christians in his old hometown in Mexico. Working with the Spanish minister at Garden Ridge, Art Esquivel, they saw a tremendous potential there.
I would say that Nacho and I, about 6 years ago, when we first visited Paso de Real, that area of the town in San Fernando, we saw the need to preach the gospel. Since there was a small group of Christians already attending, we felt that with the assistance and help of our congregation in Garden Ridge, there was a great future to preach the gospel and to build a church. The people are wonderful. They have been very accepted to the Word of God. And 6 years ago, we have noticed and seen the change in the growth ever since Garden Ridge got involved.
During one of their trips, Art approached Nacho with the idea of a Spanish school of preaching.
We're building a building for the church in San Fernando, and Art Esquivel, of the Spanish preacher, he approached me and he told me, Nacho, what do you think about the school of preaching in San Fernando? I say, Art, who's going to come here in this little bitty town? Where does the money come from? And he say, you got the strength and I got the wisdom. Let's go combine and let's go do it.
And so, with the help of the Garden Ridge congregation, work began on the School of Preaching in San Fernando.
We began in 1996 building a little building just so they would have some kind of a place to meet for worship. When the school began, they began planting churches, many churches in the region along the coast of Mexico and the Gulf. Just around San Fernando, they planted probably 6 to 8 churches. One of those churches was Laguna San Juan. We got to visit that church one Saturday afternoon. We met there at Laguna San Juan a lady named Sarita. Sarita was an older lady, but she always wanted to serve us while we were there. There weren't enough chairs, so she went back in the house, started hauling chairs out for all of us to sit in order to have a devotional there on her front porch. A few minutes after she had delivered all those chairs, we found out that she was 98 years old. She had become a Christian in the last 2 years when they had planted the church in Laguna San Juan.
There was a tremendous excitement growing for the church in San Fernando, with the old, the young, and most everyone in between. With the help of the Garden Ridge Church of Christ in Lewisville, the little school started graduating students, many of them married, with their wives completing their studies along with them to work in ministry. Over the next few years, the school would support crusades, medical missions, and construction for new churches in different parts of the country. With the help of Garden Ridge, the Word of God was spreading through villages all across Mexico and into the Yucatan Peninsula. But things were changing in Mexico. Rival drug cartels were moving into the area. At first, they left the school and its students alone. But in 2010, a drug war broke out in San Fernando. In what became known as the 2010 San Fernando Massacre, 73 people were murdered. And in the 2011 San Fernando Massacre, over 190 were murdered, some of them being dragged out of buses and shot. The reports from the school's director, David Valdez, were frightening.
They tell us that they heard gunfire every single day. There was gun battles in the streets of San Fernando. David and Lucy's children had to hide under their beds because of gunfire that was all around their house.
Finally, the war came to the school building.
They are in class, and through the windows they saw people running through the building, and the another ones chasing them, shooting them. And they got inside of the fellowship center, and they killed both. And the students run to the second floor, to the dorms, and blood everywhere.
Although the staff and students survived that, the drug thugs next would threaten David Valdez and his own family.
And he say, Brother Nacho, something happened to me and my family. They stopped me and put the gun in my head and put us on the ground to my family, my girls and my little boy and my wife, and take away my car.
They also wanted all the school's savings, which were in a bank account. David was told to meet the gunman the next day to go to the bank. If he tried to leave that night, they said they were watching his house and would kill his entire family. But the next day, when David went to meet them, the gunman never arrived.
I say, David, get out of there and leave immediately from San Fernando. And he left. We left everything, everything of the school, curriculum, books, everything. You just get out with the students and him.
David, his family, and the students fled to the north, to the town of Rio Bravo. Local church members welcomed him, his family, and the students. Without housing, furniture, or supplies, they literally had to start over. Although many others might have given up ministry at this point, that's just not who David Valdez is. So as soon as they could, they started again, initially meeting in a local church building. They purchased books, furniture, and other materials to replace what had been lost. Later, they rented apartments, and then they rented a larger garage-type facility to make into a classroom. And through all of these trials, there have been many victories, because David has always insisted on making sure the students fully knew the Bible.
David Valdez has set up a curriculum that is better than any that we know of. In 2 years, they cover over 55 subjects, ranging from homiletics to Greek to every book in the Bible.
And these students do much more than study. In the course of 10 years under David Valdez, they have continually evangelized their surrounding communities. They have opened 8 new congregations, built 2 buildings for new congregations, and are now working on a 3rd new building. The reputation of the Little School of Preaching has grown all across Mexico because of the quality of the teaching and the strong commitment of its graduates to preach.
It's amazing. It's amazing what is right now at this moment. That little bitty school, they started with nothing, is one of the best schools of preaching in Mexico. I say that because people from Honduras, El Salvador, Canada, they call them to get the chance to get into the school.
With 3 other teachers who also preach at their own congregations, David has graduated 10 new students since the school moved to Rio Bravo. 3 of these students had their wives graduate with them as well. The fact is that many more students want to attend the school than they can take, but because of budgetary and space limitations, the waiting list grows every year.
Every time I go to Mexico, I wish that our whole congregation was there with us, because we get to see God at work right there before our eyes. Last year, one of our young men went down to Mexico the first time he'd been there, even though he knew Spanish very well. He said, this 1 week is the most important week of his life. He just turned 30 while we were there. He said, this is the best week of my life because God changed me by letting me serve the people in Mexico. That's what serving God in a foreign country, in this situation, that's what serving God in Mexico will do for you, is will change you. It will help you see God in a new and powerful way.
Because Christians like you cared, now over 600 people all across Mexico have been baptized, and thousands have heard the Word of God. In spite of poverty, famine, and even deadly violence, God's Little School of Preaching has continued to graduate dedicated men and women to preach the gospel. These courageous men and women have taken a beautiful dream and made it a reality. But now they need your help. So we are asking for your financial assistance and prayers to make sure this proven mission work is able to keep going, that there will be preachers and teachers for the thousands of people who still don't know the good news. We believe that the Word of God can not only change lives, it can change entire communities and even nations. And it all starts with a preacher.
Hay que ir